Here is Vice President Kamala Harris speaking on the coast of Ghana yesterday.
Being here was immensely powerful and moving. When we think about how human beings were treated by the hundreds of thousands in this very place that we now stand, the crimes that happened here, the blood that was shed here, the descendants of the people who walked through that door were strong people, proud people, people of deep faith, people who loved their families, their traditions, their culture, and carried that innate being with them through all of these periods. Went on to fight for civil rights, fight for justice in the United States of America and around the world.
Vice President Kamala Harris is in the middle of a week-long trip to 3 African countries. She spoke in Ghana at the Cape Coast Castle, which was one of the forts built as a departure point from the African coast for hundreds of thousands of people who were forced to make the transatlantic journey to the Caribbean and America, where they were sold into slavery. Any public school teacher in Florida who mentions the Vice President's trip to Africa this week and anything she said at the Cape Coast Castle would, of course, be fired under current Florida law, which, in a reach far beyond the previously known boundaries of the Republican right wing, bans the teaching of American history.
The horror of what happened here must always be remembered. It cannot be denied. It must be taught. History must be learned.
Joining us now is award-winning poet and author Carolyn Williams Randall. She is the writer in residence at Vanderbilt University and president of the Southern Equity Collective, an anti-racism firm. Caroline, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I just want to open your microphone to your reaction to what you heard the Vice President say.
Well, Lawrence, I'm so glad to be here with you this evening. And you made allusion to the systems of power that are familiar, and especially when you were talking about Clarence Thomas and his wife Jenny. And I wanted to think back even further to a very original American, Thomas Jefferson, who by the time that he was becoming an old man in 1820, he wrote about slavery, that we have a wolf by the ear, and we can neither hold him nor safely let him go. Justice is on one scale, and self-preservation is on the other. And Thomas Jefferson talked about his fear that he was going to die in the belief that the useless sacrifice of themselves by the generation of 1776 to acquire self-government and the happiness to their country is to be thrown away by the unwise and unworthy passions of their sons. And Lawrence, here we sit. The idea of America, the idea of freedom and of liberty is being thrown away by unwise ancestors who are deciding that they can't stand the story for what it's actually made of. They can't stand that we built this country on the backs of people who are stolen from their homes. They can't stand it, and so they don't want to tell it because they can't imagine how on earth they could stand to live in a place like this if they actually faced the truth of it. And that's what's the wild truth of it to me as a Black American who does love this country, is that I sit here and I love it and I still stand on the promise of it, knowing what it actually was built upon, because my body is made of what it was built upon, which is chattel slavery and the intersection of right-minded people looking forward. And so I think about Kamala Harris standing in Ghana, where so many people departed to begin this American story of intersections and of trying to figure out hope on the other side of wild injustice and oppression. I watch her standing there and I think, I hope that we can figure out how to just hold the truth of it and to continue to tell the truth even when it is hard to bear. Because, this idea of teaching, of banning teaching critical race theory is an idea of banning a piece of American history that the man who wrote the Declaration of Independence demanded that we bear witness to. So I don't even know what it means to claim an American identity if we can't connect with that ethos.
And the notion that we are somehow teaching American history in Florida, but we're just leaving out some pieces, is a lie. It means you're not teaching American history.
Well, right. Erasure is the most frightening thing there is right now, because we're trying to actually manifest, when we think about an American identity, and saying American is even a limited word when we think about there's Central America, there's South America. We have claimed this notion of American identity for the 50 United States, but that's a separate conversation. But what I will say is, this idea of American identity, it's only attached in the present to a commitment to a set of ideals. If you take my blood, I'm from England, I'm from Scotland, I'm from Germany, I'm from Cameroon, I'm from Nigeria, I'm from Ghana, 2%. I checked before I got on your call tonight. And I was thinking, there's not one piece of my blood, there's not one strand of my DNA that is from this land. And so we have to figure out how to connect. We have to figure out how to connect on ideals, not on blood. And we have to tell our stories to do that.
Carolyn Randall Williams, thank you very much for joining us for this important discussion tonight.
Thank you for having me, Lawrence.